Welcome to GBIRL, the podcast looking at the real business world of esports, gaming, and streaming with the people and personalities behind it all. Here is your host, Bill the Conqueror.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. I'd extolled the virtues of LinkedIn for years. I think it is an undervalued tool in the esports world, and today I am fortunate enough via a LinkedIn connection, hanging out on LinkedIn, posting content, meeting people to meet an esports org owner. I have with me Harley Parks. She is the founder, CEO of BearClaw Gaming. I thought her story would be interesting to hear, not only as a female org founder and owner, but instead of living in the often considered center of the esports universe, North America, she's in Europe, and she has players from all over the globe, I'm guessing. So I thought that would make an interesting little interesting conversation to have. So Harley, so as far as coming on the podcast, Harley, thanks for making time for me. I appreciate it.
Hey, all good. Well, thank you for having me here. Thank you so much. I'm blessed to be here. Not many podcast opportunities come by, so I'll take them when I can.
Got it. And I like stories that are kind of off the beaten path, talking to people like yourself who are pursuing that esports gaming, I guess you call it, dream goal. I don't know. We'll get into that. So just as a little backstory, so people understand you, where you came from. What made you want to become an org owner in this space?
Well, actually, it started when I was really young. I around like 3-4 years old. My parents got me like a Nintendo DSi, and I was playing Pokemon. And I was like beating the whole game every single time I got like a Pokemon game, and I was like, oh, I'm pretty good at this. That means like maybe I can do something well in Pokemon. And so after playing Pokemon, then I went to the Wii, and I was always playing the Wii with my mom, like into the late hours of the night on weekends. I was like 8 years old, and my mom's over there, and we're playing billiards, at like 12 a.m.
Wow.
And
wow.
yeah, like the Wii billiards. And I was like, this is actually really fun. I do enjoy gaming. And then when the Xbox One came out, my parents bought me the Xbox One, and my dad's in the military, so I was like, oh, I want Call of Duty, right?
Okay.
So I got into the Call of Duty scene. I played a little bit like pro-am stuff. I played for Online Killers. I played for PTKE, which were just like small little pro-am organizations. And I was playing that, and I was getting really good, and I was like, this is awesome, I love it. Went to go play some GTA because I thought, that'd be really good for content for a couple years. I was like, oh, I was wrong. Then 2020 rolls around and COVID's starting, and I was like, you know what, maybe this is my opportunity to go hop in and create the dream. So, I went back to Call of Duty, started playing professionally, realized that I can't play professionally and I should have others play professionally for me.
Okay.
And I brought in some content creators. Then I got this Valorant team that just messaged me out of the blue from Korea. They were semi-pro as well. And I was like, all right, let's do it. Let's bring in Valorant. Let's bring in Call of Duty. Let's bring in some content creators, Super Smash Bros. All this. This is awesome. At the time I was working at Taco Bell, so I wasn't able to make much money and provide.
Right.
So the best I could do was like, hey, I'll give you guys a free jersey if you're with me for a month, and I'll buy in your like $20 buy-ins. That's the best I can do for you.
Right.
And so they were like, okay, that's perfectly fine. And then I moved up a little bit and started getting like top 32 in CDO challengers, and then, getting top 20 in Valorant First Strike. And then this organization, my holdings company above me currently right now called Plinius, reached out to me, and they are the ones pretty much funding it now, the whole organization. So we're more of a subsidiary company at the moment. So.
Okay. So hold on right there. So you're saying so there's a lot to unpack in that, what you just said. So I just want to catch that last part. You said that you have a holding company who is over you and is supporting you.
Pretty much, yeah. So what happened is they're like an entertainment company, and they wanted to get into esports, and a lot of other esports organizations already had like really big sponsors and really big capital coming in from those sponsors and investors, and we did not. We were just kind of breaking through, and they're just like, okay, we need to hop on this as fast as possible. And so they provided us with the opportunity for capital, and they're pretty much supporting us. There's a split of shares. Nothing has gone through yet with incorporation, since that's still, a work in progress. But they're all the contracts are signed, and they're pretty much just assisting us and supporting us, since they want to be an entertainment organization. We're an esports organization, and a lot of new entertainment organizations want to get into esports because it's a great breakthrough way to start getting into entertainment, via like MCNs, like multi-channel networks like that. So that's what they were like, okay, this is awesome. This is something that we can do. So pretty much that's kind of where we are right now. Like things are still moving through, so nothing's like finalized yet. But but yeah, so pretty much the people that are mainly supporting us are the holdings company, Plinius.
Plinius?
Plinius. Plynius.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah. So I'll be sure to put a link to that. I'll be sure to put a link to that in the description below. So that first part you're talking about. So your mom spends a lot of time with you late into the night playing the Wii. Your dad's in the military. Which so I was just going to ask you, how did you end up in Germany? And you end up in Germany, and your dad's in the military. So that makes total sense right there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as a child. As a child who is in a military family, spent a lot of time moving around,
Yeah.
You were fortunate enough to have a mom that understood, hey, video games are a way that we can kind of bond. And that's fantastic right there. So parents, adults, bond with your kids over gaming. That's how me and my sons and my daughters all kind of bonded over gaming. So I guess what really fascinated me the most about what you just talked about, how did you get the introduction to the entertainment company?
So pretty much it was actually via LinkedIn. One of their
nice
one of their talent managers was like, oh yeah, hey, there's an opportunity, and I was like, okay, this is it sounds pretty good. It's a great opportunity, and it pretty much gave me a lot more confidence to go reach out to bigger players. I had the connections. I have the connections in big organizations, but I never really wanted to be like, and not just connections via LinkedIn. I had connections over the phone as well, and on a number basis. And I was always like scared to reach out to them, and because it was all from my time playing as pro-am in COD, and all those pro-ams that I actually used to play with are now actually in the CDO and actually in the proper franchise league. So a lot of those people that I used to play with and I used to look up to, and I used to run scrims with, they gave me these contacts, and now they're like pro players. But the crazy thing is, they gave me like a little bit of a confidence boost to go reach out to these players, and now that's why we have a team that's comprised of like Cloud9 and XT1 players as well. So things like that, they really they give me a confidence boost to go out and reach out to these players. But yeah, LinkedIn is the driving force, and I think LinkedIn is kind of like the key to that success, but it's very much so overlooked.
So so I think what people need to realize about what you just said is you spend a lot of time playing COD when you were younger, and then you're like, I want to take the next step, and you had these people, both men and women, that you played with that had the confidence in you to go, hey, you should talk to this person, or hey, here's this person I know. And I think that's an important point to really highlight, is that you spent the time competing with these people. You were on their level for a certain period of time. They went one direction, you went another, but what matters the most is the relationship that you built with them. That is absolutely fabulous. So when you decided you wanted to start your own org and do your own thing, your parents said what?
Oh boy. So my parents, even though they did bond over games, whether it be board games, video games, anything, they were really hesitant at first. They were very, very hesitant. They're like, this is like a 1 in a billion chance that you can even go anywhere with it. If you do, kudos to you. If you do, we'll support you 100%. When we start seeing results, we'll support you. But right now, they're like, there's no way you're gonna make money off of gaming. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna stick it to the man. I'm gonna make money off of gaming. You know, pretty much the same thing that's like happening in Wall Street right now. I was like, I'm gonna stick it to the man.
Yes.
And so my parents were like, all right, if you do it, go for it, 100%. They're like, just don't lose track of like school and don't lose track of like a backup plan. And my backup plan has always been going into cybersecurity. I'm a big cybersecurity nerd. I've 4 years in a row, Cyber Patriot team captain, right?
Wow.
I'm even talking, because of all that, I'm able to talk with people in CrowdStrike and some big venture capitalists that invested in CrowdStrike right now.
Okay.
I'm able to connect with them and talk with them and even bring cybersecurity into esports because, there's that whole like hacking and modding and stuff like that. And now, how about we bring in like cybersecurity into, with esports teams and like develop more anti-cheat stuff. So there's always things that like, are in my mind, just ideas to advance esports and just advance my industry further. But yeah, so pretty much my parents were really hesitant. They're like, there's no way. And then I started gaining this traction and over the course of 2020, they're starting to see me on like, Twitch, and they're starting to see my games get broadcasted by the official leagues and by like Valorant Korea.
Nice.
We got invited to the Doyu Bijouan Cup actually last week. And we won actually $2,300. We came in second place.
Wow.
And we were beating teams like Suning. We were beating teams like 12 Royal RNG. And, my parents are starting to sit there like, oh my gosh, like you're actually gaining traction. Something's happening. This is insane. And so now they're like 100% supporting it. They're like, this is awesome. Go BearClaw. Let's, do it. My name, my in-game name has always been Reaper. Like it was always like that, 2012 Call of Duty name, from when I was like 11, it was like Hell Reaper, and now it's stuck with me for Reaper. And now my dad got a jersey, he's like Papa Reaper, and then my mom got one that says Mama Reaper. So now it's like 100% support. But at first he was very, very hesitant. So yeah.
So okay, so I have to imagine that your father in the military is like, well, if this keeps her out of trouble, I suppose it's good for short term. So when you say, Dad, I'm gonna own a professional video game organization, and we're gonna compete against other professional players online, he said what?
My dad was like, if you do it, you do it. If you don't, you don't. He's like, I'll support it when I see something happening, right? Because I was always fiddling with the idea, even when I was like really young, like 12, 13, 4 or 5 years ago. Wow. Okay. It makes me feel old for a second. But my parents were like, if you actually do something with it, great, but at first, like I said, everyone was like, yeah, that's not going to happen. Even people at my school were like, that's impossible. You're not going to do it. There's no way you're going to start competing against people like Cloud9, T1, Crazy Raccoon. There's no way, and then lo and behold, now I have people who actually played in Cloud9, SKT1, NYXL, Crazy Raccoon, some really big APAC names. And like now that I have those people, playing and working for me, it's for me, I feel like I'm working for them because it's like I these people have way more experience than I do, and I'm blessed to have them on my team. So now that I'm just kind of like showing everyone that my dreams are actually coming true, and I've worked, I work 16 hours a day for this. Right. I between school and my organization, it's 16 hours a day, constant work. Sometimes I'm pulling all-nighters, but everyone at first was like, there's no way you're going to get these like big people. There's no way you're going to compete against these big people. It's impossible. And, 1 year later, here we are.
Yes, here we are. So, okay, let's talk for a second about you being female, because that's a big deal to some people. Some people are like, hey, I don't freaking care. If you win, you win. If you lose, you lose. But some people really care about that. Have you run into, I guess I should ask it this way. Have you run into both sides of the coin where people are like, we just want you to be successful, and then some people are like, what is this crazy little girl doing in my industry, right?
Yes, I've ran into both. I will start by saying I actually went on Reddit the other day, and it was about 48 hours ago, I went on Reddit. There was an interview about me with Run It Back that I did, and I was blessed to be able to have that interview. And then it was posted on Reddit, and all these people on Reddit are like, 17, that's BS. This is no way. There's
Right.
like, she's just burning through money from some VCs. She doesn't know how to create proper revenue streams, da 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 da.
Right.
And I'm over here, I'm sitting there, I'm laughing. I was like, if people want to say that, they can say that. I don't care. I'm going to prove them wrong.
Okay.
So there is a lot of discrimination still against females in the space. It's still there, but then there's other people that are like really that are like pushing for my success, and they're like, we love what you're doing, because every other organization is like, oh, let's do a sponsorship deal, let's do a partnership, and then let's maybe do this charity stream. And that's really all other organizations do if they're a content organization. And, no disrespect to any other organization out there, but like there's no set end line, of what defines esports success. And so there's ideas that I have, conjured in my mind, of things that are just never seen before in esports that I truly feel could revolutionize the industry. But the issue at hand right now is, there are people that discriminate. It is really hard, especially there's a lot of people on even on LinkedIn that'll be like, oh, she's just 17. She doesn't know what she's doing. She probably doesn't even have a business plan or a proper pitch deck. And then there's people that are like, you know what? I'm going to help her. I'm going to mentor her. I'm going to teach her.
Okay.
And those are the people that I look up to. And they're actually, still my advisors. Even people from big Korean orgs like Vision Strikers, who actually won Valorant First Strike last year. The owner of Vision Strikers, I actually have him on WhatsApp, and he's always, like, hey, good job. Even though we're competing against each other on a day-to-day basis as two separate organizations, he's still pushing for my success, and he's always like, hey, good job. How are you doing? Stuff like that. Even other organization owners and even people from like G2, Rogue, people that are still from these really big, high-profile orgs that want to see my success. So what I've learned is the people that are, that have made that success and that know the struggle, they're pushing for, my success, and they see my vision. But the people that don't know the struggle, or the people that, are just kind of there because they're like, oh, well, she's a female,
Okay.
they don't understand, how hard it is to get, just even through the space. So the people that are successful in the space, they all bring each other up. And then there's the people that, aren't really in the space, that don't really know the struggle, that are always trying to bring people down.
That's I really like that you put it that way, because I believe there are just as many people on your side as there are people who are not on your side. And we as humans tend to only hear the negative. We tend to give too much credence to the people that are trying to doubt us. So I was listening to you talk about revenue streams. I guess I mean an obvious question is your org specifically, are you profitable?
So right now, actually, between our 2020 profits, in 2020 of October, we got our first investment, and it was a small investment. It was only $1,000, right?
Okay.
By the end of 2020, before we actually went into our holdings company, we actually broke even with profit and our initial capital that we got up front. So we broke even, and we truly feel that, if we get more capital and we can open up more revenue streams, and we can open up more opportunities, not only for the organization, but also for, our supporters. We can open up more opportunities for them. So for us, we're very, very smart with our money.
Okay.
We don't throw it around willy-nilly like some other organizations.
Okay.
But we are very smart with the money. Everything is a democracy. It's not really just because I'm the CEO. It's not like, oh, she's the CEO. She's the one that, says this should happen. This should happen. Let's click the big red button. I ask everyone, like it's a group collaborative effort of, you guys think this is a good idea? Let's go through the pros and cons. And it usually takes like a month, for any idea to actually go through or get authorized. Under my supervision, or even under my other management's, supervision. So everything is very thoroughly, it's thought through, and we look at long term, we look at short term with anything. So we're very smart with how we spend our money.
So, okay, right there in that day, when you talk about long term, short term, and this is not a slight on your age, but you don't have the experience that some other people have. That's why you have smart people around you. So when you're having this conversation of, here's this idea, I've run it by a couple people, and this is what I want to do, and then somebody who's your advisor who's like, I think that's a bad idea, and here's why. When those conversations happen, when those conversations take place, I mean, in the end, you're the CEO and the founder, and you answer to your investors. That's how business works. And if you, it's one of those things that if you said, we are doing this, I don't give a damn what other people say, it will happen. But as a CEO, you need to involve as many people as possible.
Exactly.
So when you're having these conversations and you're like, I love this idea, I thought it through, I've done this, and then someone's like, no, you need to think again. You need to consider these other 4 factors. What's that conversation like for you?
So when people are like, hey, look at these other factors, I take the time to look at those other factors. And then if the cons do weigh out more of the pros, I will go throw my idea in the trash. I will happily, I am very open to criticism. I'm not the type of person that's like, oh, it's because it's my idea. I want this idea. I don't care what you say. Even though
Right.
there's like a bunch of pros, and I've not looked through all the cons yet, because I myself, I know that I can't see everything. I know I can't see every pro. I know I can't see every con through every idea.
Mm-hmm.
I know that I have other pairs of eyes that do that, that help me out with these big decisions, and that's why I have multiple advisors, especially. So it's not like a one woman effort here. It's a multiple people effort. So when those conversations usually come up, they'll sit me down, we'll talk through it, we'll bring in more management, we'll bring in all the advisors, we'll bring in, the holdings company, and then everyone will kind of sit down in this meeting and we'll start talking about the pros, the cons, the long term, the short term, more like how do we take my idea and develop the idea into something better. It's usually, most of the time, it's not like, oh, hey, let's take your idea and throw it in the trash. Most of the time it's, okay, how do we evolve this idea, because this is a good idea, but how do we evolve this idea to actually be profitable, or how do we evolve this idea to actually do something well for us in the long term? So most of the time, it's just how to make the idea better. The few times that I've had to throw an idea in the trash, we usually change it out with an alternate idea that everyone comes with a compromise. So no matter what, there's always a compromise. Everyone's always somehow happy. We always try to figure out how to make everyone happy, even though the world says, oh, you can't make everyone happy.
Right.
We will do our best to make everyone happy. So, so for us, it's really for me, it doesn't really hurt my feelings when these things come up. I always want what's best for the company and what's best for my people before myself. So yes, an idea could be great for me, but if the idea is not good for the company and great for the players and great for the supporters, then we're not going to go through with any idea.
Okay, so that's a great concept to think about and to hold on to. But as far as putting into practice, can often be difficult. Give me a semi-specific example without give me a semi-specific example without obviously us giving away details that you can't talk about. You know what I mean?
So, one of the actual examples that it actually happened a couple of days ago. I liked the logo. I liked the old logo. I was like, I'm hell bent over this logo. It's an amazing logo. This was my nostalgic Call of Duty vibes, right?
Right.
But the whole organization was like, look, for professional reasons and just overall appearance, we do need to change the logo, right? It doesn't mean we have to change the name. It doesn't mean we have to change the mascot.
Right.
We have to change the logo, though. And everyone was kind of saying, the logo does need to be changed. And I was like, you know what? Let's see. So, I doubt you guys will be able to come up with something that I'll actually like. And we went through about 8 different logos. My poor GFX, I think she wants to leave after how much work I put her through.
Oh my.
She's like, why did you put me through so much work and so much effort? Like, this is insane. I feel really bad. Like we kind of butted heads, but in the end we were all laughing. And I was like, I really want something that everyone can enjoy. Like, I want a logo that everyone, the public, no matter if they're 6 or 60, I want everybody to enjoy the logo, and I also want myself to enjoy the logo.
Okay.
And I'm a really big cyberpunk, Ready Player One, futuristic tech, type of person. Like that's just the type of aesthetic I like. And I was like, all right, I want something futuristic, cyberpunk, bear, right? And they're like, cyberpunk bear, we've never heard that before, right? And then I was like, oh, and let's throw in a little bit of military feel too.
Okay.
And they're like, what are you doing? And they're like, you have got to be on something. And I was like, no, this is what I want. And no one could think of anything, right? And so the GF actually was starting to think of some ideas. Like I said, we went through like 8 different ideas. Right. And then I saw this logo, right? The one that I have now. Like I said, everyone did not want the original logo. And I was like, I want the original logo. So now we have the one that we have now. And, something that I ran it by, and what my people told me and that I actually enjoyed is like everyone from 6 to 60 can enjoy it. Because one, the older generation can enjoy the logo because it looks like the old Thundercats logo,
I love that reference. You just gained a fan when you referenced Thundercats. I'm like, yes!
Yes, I was like, even though it's a bear, it still looks like a Thundercats logo. So we can, get older generation. And then for like, people that are like 6, 7 and still young, it looks like this futuristic, kind of like military bear. You got the slash going through it. And I was like, all right, I love this. This is awesome, So for the betterment of the company and to make it look more professional and just overall everyone to enjoy the logo and to enjoy the feel, it's not, really closed-minded into one direction like Call of Duty. Right. It's more open-minded, like everyone can enjoy this logo. It can be a brandable, look good, professional logo. So yeah, here we are with that. And that's one of the great examples of the conflict that we went through for one of those advisory issues.
That I just say, as soon as you reference Thundercats, I'm like, wow, there's somebody that I can be a fan of. Okay. Yeah. So you have the brand, you have the org management concept, but in the end, if your teams aren't very good, you're not going to get very far. And so
correct.
Finding talent can be hard. So you mentioned earlier that you had a Valorant team reach out to you for a spot, which is interesting. That it, from my experience, it normally happens the other way. So
yeah, normally exactly.
Right. So when a team reaches out to you, that's actually like, oh, okay, it's a team. And so team reaches out to you, but when you reach out to potential teams and you're scouting and you're looking at, how do they handle themselves? So are people kind of hesitant to talk to you, not only because of you're a woman, but your age?
Well, actually, a lot of people are very hesitant to talk with me, and it's kind of a double-edged sword, because people are like, oh, this is brandable, this is great, this is like that underdog story, but at the same time, they're taking a big risk, and a lot of other companies are taking a big risk when they do that. And so I usually bring in, my director of operations or my general manager, some consultants and advisors to come into these sponsor meetings or come into these potential like team meetings with me to, give some security to other companies or give some security to new teams.
Got it.
So that way those new teams are like, okay, it's not this girl that's just running everything. There's an actual, vision, and there's actual people behind this girl that, they see her vision as well. So I do bring in other people for those interviews, and I'm very, very selective with the people that I choose. I do have people, in my DMs every day. Hey, we want to join. Hey, we want to join. Hey, we want to join. Are you recruiting? And I love the enthusiasm. I really do. And I love how the people are like coming to me and they want to join and want to be a part of our family because, our goal is to be open for everyone. But at the end of the day, we do have comes to putting people on a pro stage and investing a lot of money in them because we don't want people that are going to tarnish a reputation because of how they act or their actions. And we don't want people who, and I'm sorry to say this, but a noob, you don't want a noob. So, we are in the process of like developing academies and developing like an open for everyone, so everyone can feel that they're part of the family and definitely have a potential to join. But at this point in time, we have to be really selective because one, there's a reputation on the line, especially with my name there. Companies, there's the company reputation on the line. There's the holdings company reputation on the line, potential sponsors that we're talking to, their reputation on the line. So right now you just can't get everyone and anyone. And I'd love to get everyone and anyone, trust me, but you have to be very selective with those processes, and especially bring other people in. It's all for, you have to make a good appearance, and you have to look good, as much as you should be judging people on character and judging people on how the way that they work. The world the sad truth is the world wants to see appearance and reputation. And so there is something that we have to keep up. But when we do select our players, we're still very open-minded. We're still very relaxed about it. At the same time, we are still very strict on who we pick and choose.
So I think that speaks, I think the fact that you have standards speaks directly back to your father being in the military, right?
Correct, yeah.
And so I'm sure he said in you from an early age, here's the standard. You have to meet this standard. If you don't, get up to the standard. If you hit the standard, great, but have a standard, have a line where you say yes and you say no, because I firmly believe that while it's important to be open ideas, it's actually more important to say no to things, because it sets you up to succeed when you have a standard. And I do have to say, your dad sounds like somebody who he's like, okay, I'll support you. Not quite sure what's going to happen, but I taught you the best I could, so go. And there are a lot of people that don't have that in your life. You're an extremely fortunate person right there. He sounds like a good person.
Yeah, my dad is an absolute blessing to everything that I've done so far. I'm very grateful for what he supported me. My grandma actually did the same for my dad, and
wow.
My dad was able to go compete and trial for the Olympic wrestling team, the U.S. Olympic wrestling team in 1988. Sadly, my grandma passed then, so he didn't want to complete the trial. But my grandma was always supportive of my father's wrestling career. Like I said, since my grandma did pass, my dad didn't want to pursue the wrestling career because he felt really bad because he couldn't pursue for his mom. But my grandma would always give her unconditional help and support to my dad. So my dad wanted to do the same to me, and his expectation is I do the same when I'm older, and when I have kids or grandkids. His expectation is I pass that unconditional support to the future generations as well. So for that, I think that's something that's a very good standard to have, like you're saying, and something that's just great as a family. I don't know, not really a tradition, but kind of a family tradition to have. And so far it's helped my family, and my family has seen from that in the past couple of generations more success each generation. So if something's not broken, don't fix it type thing. So
right. And it is perfectly fine to have standards. It's okay to have discipline. The most successful people in the world have discipline. They do it.
Exactly.
And so I'm extremely happy for you that you have had solid parents that have given you structure, I guess is the best word, structure. So I want to get into now. I want to talk about that what you've learned over time, because it life and growth and professional development, personal development, it's not this constantly upward trend. You will make mistakes, you will crash, you will be like, why did I do that? I don't understand what happened with that decision. So I guess so to kind of lean into it, were there ever times where you made some commitments to, whether it's people in your org or a team or even yourself, where you're like, you made it and then you realize after the fact, oh, wait a minute, I don't have everything I need to make this work for these people? I mean,
yes.
Okay.
Yes. Actually, every day I will reflect on things I've done in the past. in the commitments. I've learned there's never make promises unless you can keep those promises, right?
Right, exactly.
I learned that the hard way. And actually, we're going through it right now. Something that actually I cannot go through my NDA for.
Got it.
And
Okay.
I can't say it, but I learned that the hard way. You never make empty promises, and that's also something my dad, has said, in the military. The military taught him is never make empty promises, and not to rely on hope that much. You have to have a solid structure. Plan Bs, Plan Cs. Even all the way to Plan D and E and F. So there's
Right.
there always has to be something of a backup. Before you can make a promise. So for me, yes, there have been things I can't uphold, but I will always do my best to uphold them. There's something about me. It's like, okay, if I can't uphold it right now, I don't care how long it's going to take. You're going to get the commitment that I gave you, even if it takes 20 years down the line and it doesn't matter, it's still going to happen.
Got it.
So
Okay.
for me, it does not matter if I do make a commitment. I will always follow through. It doesn't, for me, I know, like, okay, if it does take so long, people usually forget or they don't care anymore. It's always going to be, in the back of my mind. It's always going to bother me. It's always going to be like, oh my gosh, I need to fulfill this commitment that I gave to this person or to this player. I gave them a promise, so I have to fulfill that promise no matter what. So I learned something on that for professional development. Something else that I've learned, just in my development and my experience over 1 year, it's kind of felt like a cram school, like a business cram school.
Right.
And I'm taking business classes in high school, and right now I'll be taking like marketing and entrepreneurship and like, business and personal finance. And, it's kind of sad because now I feel like I can teach those classes, even without having taken those classes, just
Right.
from the experience and what I've learned so far, how to develop a business plan, just countless hours of watching college lectures on YouTube for business and countless hours of talking with my advisors and them running me through what they've learned. I was taking like not my college course. I wish I was in college. I do have AP courses though, my college AP courses.
Right.
But taking like even like these AP business classes and macroeconomics and all these business and marketing classes, I'm kind of sitting here. I'm like, how do people like? There's like something in my mind like, how do people not know this? And then I like look back. I'm like, wait, hold on. I have learned a lot.
Right.
I'm way ahead of the power curve, but and I gotta stay humble about that because like for me, it's a blessing. Not everyone has this opportunity.
Right.
So for me, it does feel like I can start teaching those classes now. And I've learned a lot, like I said, just being in this field and being a C-level in business and learning from other people and other organizations, and law, definitely law. I've learned a lot about law because we have a legal counsel. That is probably the most painful, and it hurts my brain. It hurts my brain a lot when we start getting into legal stuff. But I've learned a lot, especially about like contracts and law and business and just, I could talk for hours about this of every little nitpick thing that I've learned, but I am absolutely blessed. And, a lot of my advisors are like, you're on the level, you're operating on a level of someone who's like mid 30s to 40s should be, operating at. Kudos to you. Keep going. So for me, it does put a lot of pressure on me. But I am blessed every day to have these opportunities. And, something that I've learned is you're never going to get anything handed to you. You always have to like work yourself for it. So I will beat myself up. I'm very hard on myself. I will spend hours just reading and watching lectures just to learn and to be up to my peers, standard and to be up to their level. So development wise, I am 100% always working to be better.
So, okay, when you talk about being better and learning and law specifically, there are major differences in contract law, in business law between Europe and North America and Korea and Australia. I'm sure that you've had to face some of those in your short time. So,
yes.
So I want to get into a little bit of specifics here. So to talk about a couple of things that you've learned along the way. Like when you're dealing with people, contracts South Korea, it's contracts in Europe, things like that.
So when working with all these contracts, I do have to learn, basic labor law of every country that I operate in.
Right.
And I also have to have I have a full HR department. God bless them. I don't know how they do it. I have an HR guy out of South Korea, and I always get, hey, you can't do that. That may fly in America, but it does not fly over here. You
Okay.
know.
Okay.
I'm like, well, what do you mean? Well, how does it not fly? They're like, no, that's not how it works over here. I was like, okay.
So
Gotcha.
what do you mean by that?
So there are certain laws. One thing that I did learn is about like the Korean IDs, right? So Korean IDs, like the last six numbers, they just actually changed the law January 1st of this year, that you cannot give the last six numbers out on a Korean ID, right?
Okay.
But for payroll purposes, since the banks and like the corporate banks haven't like fully switched over with that law yet, you still need the whole 12 numbers, right? So we're having to figure out a way to, only get the first six numbers and put it through on the pay slips to talk with this bank, like, hey, you got to pay these people out, wire it to these people. But they're like, oh, we can't do it without the full 12 numbers. And this is from Malaysia and Singapore, because our holdings company does all this. I just kind of like sit there, watch and learn when it comes to like payroll and, accounting and HR and legal is all done by the holdings company. I just kind of sit back, watch and learn, for my sake, because, if like, let's say like some accounting goes sideways, I don't want to get thrown in jail,
Right.
So they do that for me, but I learn a lot, because like I said, the ID thing that was changed recently, and HR had to, pretty much inform everyone, and contracts had to be changed.
Right.
So it's always there's always some little nitpicky thing that happens, and it's in America, you can, show your ID and be like, okay, here's my ID and passport, and okay, I'm applying for the job. Cool. Right. But in Korea, since, there's no actual, credit system, they have like things like key money, saying, and then also in Korea, they don't have like a social security number. Their like last six numbers are the social security number on that ID. Right.
Okay.
So like certain things like that, like little things like that are different from America, and like same thing in like Europe. In Europe, you have like the driver's license that you could use, you have passports that you could use, but then there's like, I don't even know how to say it in German, other things that like I said, I cannot pronounce, that are kind of like their social security. But in Asia, there's things that aren't really differentiated that are in Europe or are in America that aren't in Asia, and then there's like other labor laws that are in Asia that aren't in Europe or America. So things like that, working with legal and learning is insane. Governing law of where you should put the governing law is insane.
Right.
The negotiating on those contracts with these these people are also insane as well. So everything is really, it's a lot to learn and a lot of information. But I work with it. I figure it out slowly but surely. I do figure it out. And thankfully, like I said, HR is there for a reason.
Wow, there's a lot there, and I'm glad you brought up trying to pay everybody from different countries and some of the processes that you have to go through. That's right there, I think, is a piece a lot of people don't quite wrap their brain around. There's like, just send them the money. Wait a minute. There's a very specific process. Every country has for their banks that you have to follow, and if you don't, it doesn't work. And so that's and the fact that you think that way is freaking awesome. You are on the right track. So I learned over time that you don't end up on the right track unless you have good people around you, good people to direct you, good mentors in your life.
Definitely.
So who are some mentors in your life that you're thankful for?
A couple mentors that I'm very thankful for in my life. One is my father. I'm very thankful for my father. He was always a great mentor to me, always, teaching me what I need to do. Another great mentor that came early on in my organization's life, her name is Miss Breen Wynn. She actually sits on the board of Cal State University Dominguez Hills and the U.S. Women's soccer team. So I'm very, very thankful for her as well, being a great mentor. Another, great mentor that I have is is actually my father's own personal lawyer. He's taught me a lot about law. He's out of Texas, but he's taught me a lot, and I'm very thankful for him. Just every day he's like, "All right, Harley, you gotta remember what I've always told you. Everyone's full of shit." And I was like, "Yep, I know."
They are.
He's like, "Everyone's full of shit," So like those three people have definitely been great mentors in my life, and there are a couple supportive teachers that I've looked up to that from my high school, Ramstein High School, that are always there. Actually, my business teacher was one of them. And he, Mr. Martin, my business teacher, even though he let's just say there were some ups and downs with him and butting heads. He's like, "That's not how you're supposed to do it. That's not how curriculum does it." And I was like, "Well, this is how I'm doing it, and this is working, right?"
Right.
So pretty much, my business teacher was definitely a big help, and then of course, my counselor, Miss Carden, has been a big help to me. She's always believed in me, and I've actually sacrificed a lot of school, which it does suck, to the point where I'm having to do my senior year all the way into summer. So everyone else is graduating, and I'm graduating 2 months late because I've put a lot of time into this organization, which it does suck graduating late. But hey, I mean, if I'm class of 2021.5, that means I'm the only one in my class, so I have to be the valedictorian, right?
Exactly.
I was like, that's how you gotta think. You gotta think positive. You gotta think good. So people like that who surrounded me and always given me support. And like I said, my school could easily have been like, "All right, you're expelled because you didn't get these credits on time," or "All right, we don't want to have you at our school anymore, because you're not doing it." But the fact that they're like still working, still with me, and they're like, "You know what, you've accomplished a lot. We'll keep you into the summer a little bit. We'll help you get those last few credits, and we'll help you graduate." So that's the mentors and my teachers around me have definitely helped a lot, with my dreams and my success and what I've been, achieving and trying to achieve, and the goal that I want. All of them have definitely pushed me to be a better version of myself. And they've always advised me on day-to-day things, like, because even in school, like day-to-day in school, I was always the kid that, I was always the cool kid. I always hung out with the cool kids, but at lunchtime, when everyone's like, "All right, let's go off campus, let's go grab some food, let's go grab Popeyes or Taco Bell," I'd be like, "All right, I'm actually going to be in the library and I'm going to work on my work." And they're like, "You know what? You're like the cool nerd. Like, how are you like hanging out with all these kids here, but like you're like still nerding out?" So for me, those teachers would still, come and take their lunchtime off as well and help me achieve my dream and like walk me through, even business practices, and teach me just life lessons each day.
So it's interesting that you bring up school and friends, because typically, I mean, I remember when I was 16, 17, I was staying up late on Fridays and going to school dances and being in the band and causing trouble and doing things that teenagers do. And you're operating in an international business. And so when your friends say, "Hey, let's go downtown," it's like, I can't. I have to be on a Zoom call to sign some contracts. I gotta be on a Zoom call to sign contracts with players from South Korea, and they're like, "Dude, who does that?" Apparently, you do that, right? So what do they say to you?
Oh my! So I'm gonna say I have conjured a lot of overnight friends. We will say that. A lot of people are like, "Oh yeah, I knew you. We had this class together." I'm like, "No, I don't know you. You're just here because now I have a lot of followers and I'm gaining some traction, and you just want to like get all this like free, like, oh my God, I'm friends with her." Like I've had that. I will be completely honest. I've had that, but I do have some really good friends who've been with me since the start. Even though they'll be like, "Oh, hey, let's go to this party, or let's go downtown, let's go to the mall, let's go do this, right? I'll be like, "No, I'm calling a sponsor. I'm talking with the holdings company. I'm talking with a chairman. I'm talking with, a VC firm. They're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, yeah, guys, I'm sorry, I can't hang out, but they respect it and they're always supportive. I've even had it where my friends they'll be in my room. I'll be like in my last meeting of the day and they'll be in my room and they'll just be like sitting there waiting quietly, and they'll actually be taking notes and they'll be like, oh, this is interesting, right?
Yeah,
they'll be like taking notes for college. And they're like, this is going to be good, right? So they're very supportive. Like the two, well, actually 3 friends that I've really hung out with since my sophomore year, who've always been supportive of me, no matter the crazy ideas that I have. They'll always support me. And even though they'll be like, oh my God, what Zoom call? After a year now, they're kind of used to it. They're like, yeah, we know her. Yeah, she's going to a meeting. Okay, cool. Right. And when they talk to other like school groups or they talk to the other schools around us, they're like, oh yeah, sorry, Harley can't hang. She's at a meeting. She's like talking at the VC firm. And other kids will be like, what? And they'll be like, yeah, what, whatever. So at this point, they're kind of used to it. My friends they've kind of normalized it, which is weird because I can go around base and I can go to like Popeyes or BX and everyone's like, oh, that's you on BearClaw, right? Oh, that's you, right? Da, 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 da. And my friends do kind of get annoyed because like random soldiers will be coming up to me like, wait, BearClaw, are you the owner? Like, oh my God, my son? Yeah, he's heard about you. He thinks you guys are awesome, So, it's kind of hard because then my friends will sit there and be like, oh, not again. And so, like, I have to sit there talking with someone for like 20 minutes and just, maybe sign something for their son.
Whoa, hold on. You're signing autographs?
Yeah, I've actually been asked to sign autographs. It's crazy. Because we want a base tournament. Like one of my Super Smash Bros. Guys, like we just like for grins and giggles, we got into a base Super Smash Bros. Tournament. And we're like, all right, we're gonna win, right? They actually got mad. The base actually got really mad that we won because they're like, no one that's not on this base can play in the tournament. I was like, technically, I own the org. I'm on base, but the players are not. But I own the org, so they play under my name, right? They're like, that's not fair. You can't do that. I was like, well, it's not in the rules, and they had to like take first place away from us and then throw it to second place, right? Because it was like they're like, this is unfair. I was like, not my problem, But no, I've had people like ask for autographs or like, oh, they know you, they know me, da 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 da. They want a picture or something. I've heard it all, right? But my friends have kind of normalized it, right? And there was one day when I pulled on my new team with like all the Cloud9 players. I was getting like a bunch of all this publicity, right? And I called my friends. I was like, guys, is this what Charlie D'Amelio feels like on a daily basis? And my friends are like, probably, because like I was getting messages for like interviews and like all these like news articles were coming up. So yeah, for them it's kind of normalized now. But at first it was completely over their heads. They're like, this is crazy. This is insane. But yeah.
Wow, I would just say you are a little ball of fire, Harley. I have been thoroughly entertained and impressed so far in our conversation. So what sort of pieces of advice would you give to people who are your age, maybe even older, who are like, I want to get a little deeper into this industry. I want to get on the management side of things.
So with management side, I would say start small. Definitely start small and work your way up. Never stay. If you want to go for some big organizations and you want to start working for Cloud9, start small and then work your way up. A lot of times you'll need like a bachelor's or a master's, which kind of sucks. If you don't, then just you have to prove them wrong with your skill set. You have to prove everyone wrong, and that's been something that I've had to overcome. Is everyone doubts me because I don't have like a degree. I don't even have a diploma yet, So I got to kind of prove with my skills and what I've done to be able to play with the big dogs. I would say for everyone that's wanting to get into these places, one, use use Hitmarker and use LinkedIn to get into places like Cloud9 and Misfits and all that. Use like Hitmarker and LinkedIn are your best friends. Hitmarker is pretty much like gaming LinkedIn. eFuse as well. eFuse, LinkedIn, and Hitmarker are your best friends. Number two, don't give up. Find those smaller organizations and then work your way up. But if you do find these small organizations, you don't want to look for club organizations. You want to look for sponsored credit that these organizations with credibility behind them. So you want to find organizations that are growing. Never give up. If you want to own your own org, this is something that I'm going to stress about 100%. Never give up, right? There will be times where you are going to feel that you are never going to be able to get anywhere. It's just a matter of how you pick yourself back up. For me, every single day, 16 hours minimum, I'm working on school and I'm working on my organization and trying to figure out something to always make it better, or I'm stuck in meetings,
Right.
So no matter what, it's going to take time and effort. You're going to have to sacrifice a lot, and you're going to have to, push yourself to another limit. And something that I told myself, and a lot of things I've heard, if you want to make it in the industry or any industry, that you are a part of, like entertainment or sports, or let's say you're gaming, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to work 1,000 times harder than your counterpart. If your counterpart is streaming every day for like 2-3 hours, you should be streaming for 5. If your counterpart is posting 2-3 times a day and engaging with their followers, you should be posting like 8, engaging with your followers. You should be making content. You should be pushing out more ideas. So no matter what your counterparts are doing, be original and do what they're doing 1,000 times better and 1,000 times more, and push the limit 1,000 times harder, right? A couple of the best books that I've ever read was The 10 Times Rule by Grant Cardone. And I read that book when I was first entering this industry, and it says, do everything 10 times better, push everything 10 times harder. And when I was doing that, okay, I was getting traction, but I was like, you know what? My rule, I'm going to push things 1,000 times harder. I'm going to go 1,000 times past what I need to be doing. So that's how I've been able to in such little time learn so much and experience so much, and push out really good players and content in this short amount of time, is because I go further than my counterparts, and I push further, even if like I said, even if I'm sacrificing sleep, school, there will be times where like I'm getting panic attacks or like smell hallucinations, and I'm like, okay, I really need to sleep, right? But this needs to get done. I will get it done. So I've even sacrificed health at some points.
Wow.
And my parents are like, you need sleep. You need to go to sleep. You've been up for 48 hours straight. Please go to sleep, And I'm like, no, I got to keep working. But no, like even if everything's crumbling down, work 1,000 times harder than everyone else. Because once you start working 1,000 times harder, you'll start to see the results, and just, you cannot give up. You cannot give up. Even at the small stages, the hardest part is to get from 1 to 1,000. From 1 to 1,000, followers or subscribers or supporters, the hardest part is 1 to 1,000. Once you hit the 1,000, it's going to start getting easier. Once you start hitting 5,000, it gets easier. Once you hit that 10,000, it gets easier. But the 1 to 1,000 is going to be the hardest, hill to climb. It's just a matter of, do you still climb that hill? Do you still push a little bit harder each day? And that's what you got to do, no matter what. But you have to think original. You have to be original, be yourself, work hard, and do 1,000 times better than your counterparts, and you will see success.
Wow. All right. There's a lot to process. I'm going to tell you right now, I have a lot of clips to pull for highlights from this conversation, because this is a good one. Harley, thank you very, very much for making time.
Thank you, Mr. Bill,
for me today. So if people want to find you, how can they find you?
Oh, they can find me on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. It's BearClaw_Esport on Twitter and Instagram. You can just type in BearClaw Space Gaming in Google, and we'll all be there. So if you just type in BearClaw Space Gaming or BearClaw Space Esports in Google, you will find our name there. All of our images, our old logo, since we just switched like 24 hours ago.
Right.
Our old logo will be there, some new logo, but even if you just type in BearClaw Space Gaming on Google, you'll find all of our links, website, LinkedIn. And if you want to personally reach me, you can go on Twitter. My Twitter name is BearClaw Harley. So if you want to personally reach me and you want to speak with me, just BearClaw Harley on Twitter. On my Instagram, it's Harley_P_Davidson. That's my personal. But I do have a personal email, which is on my Twitter, a work email that's on my Twitter. You can just type in Harley Parks for LinkedIn. So there's a bunch of ways, but I would just say the easiest way to do it, BearClaw Space Gaming Google, and you'll see all the results.
Wow, you are a little ball of fire. Thank you very much for making time for me today, Harley. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate everyone who likes and shares these podcasts. Please like, share, subscribe to the YouTube channel. More coming soon, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you for tuning in today. You can find links to everyone on the show in the description below. Check out Bill the Conqueror on Twitch and Twitter to stay up to date on his thoughts and ideas about gaming culture.